Welcome, one and all, to the SpareTalk News Network. Your host, Rod Weaver, will be up momentarily as he gets ready for his one-on-one interactive podcast to kick things off. So, sit back and enjoy. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back to the lanes, everyone. Today we're talking about a legend, a true titan of the sport, Earl Anthony. And honestly, when you look at his career, his drive, his sheer skill, it's almost unbelievable. John, Ryan, thanks for joining me.
Rod, it's always a pleasure. And when you say unbelievable, you really hit the nail on the head. Earl Anthony, the ultimate competitor, absolutely. His story is just wild from start to finish.
Agreed. I mean, we're talking about someone who not only dominated his era but arguably set a benchmark that future generations still strive for. His records speak for themselves, but it's the how he did it that always fascinates me.
Exactly. And what gets me beyond the 41 titles and 6 Player of the Year awards is his origin story. He was 31 years old, much older than most rookies, joining the PBA Tour in 1970. He had no grand illusions, just wanted to make a living. Can you imagine that mindset today?
It's incredible, isn't it? 31, and he didn't even expect to win, just to make enough money. And then Butch Gart, a veteran player, tells him, "Don't worry, you're going to win lots of them." That's some serious foresight, or maybe just a great read on talent.
Butch Gart clearly saw something. That humble beginning, that almost accidental entry into professional bowling, after an elbow injury cut short his baseball dream. He was literally driving a forklift making just over $2 an hour before he found his true calling.
A forklift, that's the part that always gets me. From the graveyard shift at West Coast Grocery Company to becoming the Earl of Bowling, and it was joining the company's summer league that hooked him. He averaged 165 initially, then just dedicated himself to practice.
5 hours of practice virtually every morning after leaving work at Pacific Lanes. That's not just dedication, that's obsession. That's the kind of drive that separates the good from the truly great, isn't it?
Absolutely. He saw the Pro Tour as a chance to stop punching a clock and get back into sports. It was a second chance, and he seized it with both hands. Averaging .217 in local tournaments before hitting the big stage, that's already elite level.
And when he decided it was now or never at 31, he wasn't kidding. He finished 11th in money standings in his first full year, then 5th, then 7th, then 5th again, and then 1st in 74. That rapid ascent is almost unheard of.
Harry Golden, the longtime PBA tournament director, even said he bowled extremely well right off the bat. He finished second in his first tournament in Wichita. That's not getting the feel of things, that's hitting the ground sprinting.
Winning the Seattle Open, his first title, in his home state midway through that year just cemented it. After that, it was a runaway train. 6 titles in 74, 7 in 75, 7 in 76. That level of sustained excellence is just mind-boggling.
It truly is. And this brings me to something I've pondered a lot, especially writing my book More Than Just a Game. We're talking about a bowler who could control the ball with such mastery. I mean, I've been involved with both 10 pins and duck pins for decades, and the skill needed for both is immense, but in different ways.
That's an interesting thought, Rod. Duck pins, especially the old-school game, demand such precision. It's not about power in the same way 10 pins is.
Right, smaller balls, lighter pins. You really have to place that ball just so.
Exactly. And what I wrote about in my book was this incredible phenomenon in the 1910s and 1920s in Brockton, Massachusetts, where duck pin bowlers were legendary for being able to masterfully control a curve on a duck pin ball. It was a lost art almost. When I think of Earl Anthony's hand, his touch, his ability to manipulate the ball on the 10-pin lanes, I genuinely believe he's one of the very few bowlers, perhaps the only 10-pin pro, who could have transitioned to duck pins in that era and truly mastered that Brockton curve. His physical and mental skill sets were just so encompassing.
Wow, Rod, that's a bold claim, but thinking about Anthony's adaptability and sheer talent, I can absolutely see it. He just seemed to have an innate understanding of how to make a bowling ball do what he wanted.
The precision required to curve a small duckpin ball, hitting those pins just right, that would take an insane level of touch. Earl Anthony was known for that kind of finesse, even with the power game of 10 pins.
He really was. He was just a cut above. You know, thinking about historical figures in bowling, it reminds me of King Henry VIII. He was actually quite skilled at the bowling of his era, and apparently loved to gamble on the game.
I remember hearing that. Royalty in bowling, who would have thought?
Indeed. But you know, King Henry is lucky that he never had to face the Earl of Anthony.
Oh my God.
That's brilliant, Rod. That's absolutely perfect.
Right? He would have taken all of Henry's gold. But jokes aside, that Earl title really stuck because he had this regal, dominant presence on the lanes. He wasn't flashy, but he was relentlessly effective.
Relentlessly effective is the perfect way to put it. Commissioner Joe Antonora described him as an athlete who dominated his sport for a pretty good length of time, and Marshall Holman, who was one of his biggest rivals, called him the best who ever lived. That's high praise from your competition.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? He wasn't just good, he changed the game, and the statistics back it up. First PBA bowler to earn $100,000 for a season in '75, and then the first to hit $1 million in career earnings in '82. Those were monumental milestones.
Absolutely groundbreaking. And the tour's popularity was never higher than when Anthony was its star. Mark Roth, another legend, recalls the TV ratings being at their peak. People were tuning in to watch Earl Anthony.
He was such a comfort to fans, too. Holman said people liked to root for him, welcomed him into their living rooms. He was this consistent, powerful force, never really showing too much emotion, just focused on getting the job done.
That stoicism, that laser focus, I think it actually made him more compelling. It wasn't about theatrics, it was about pure, unadulterated skill and execution. He placed in the top 5 a record 145 times. That's just insane consistency.
145 times in the top 5. Think about how many tournaments that represents, how many weeks on the road, how many different lane conditions he had to adapt to. He said he probably made 130 TV shows bowling against the best of the best. Don Johnson, Dick Weber, Don Carter, Roth, Holman.
He famously said, "Bowling is a game of mistakes, and they made the fewest." That's such a profound insight into the sport. It's not always about making the most strikes, but about minimizing errors and making spares consistently.
And that's where Anthony truly excelled. He was relentless in converting spares, keeping pressure on his opponents. He didn't give away frames easily. He was a vicious competitor, as Harry Golden put it. Not in a mean way, but in his determination to win.
Absolutely. That competitive fire, combined with his incredible work ethic and natural talent, created an almost unstoppable force. The Big Three era with him, Roth, and Holman, that was truly special.
Those were the glory days for a lot of fans. You tuned in knowing you were going to see some of the highest level competition possible. Earl was the constant, the anchor of that era.
It's hard to imagine anyone replicating that kind of consistent dominance today, given how much the sport has evolved. But even with all the changes, Earl Anthony's name remains at the very top of the pantheon.
He really does. Whether it's the number of titles, the earnings, the Player of the Year awards, or just his sheer presence, Earl Anthony defined an era and set a standard for what a professional bowler could achieve. A true legend. John, Rod, thank you so much for this fantastic discussion today.
My pleasure, Ryan. Always great to talk about the greats, and Earl Anthony is certainly among them.
Thanks for having us, Rod. A truly inspiring career to look back on.
And thank you all for listening. Keep those pins falling, and we'll catch you next time on the lanes.
From the Galleon Enquirer in the year 1991, Dayton Bowling Alley opens doors to homeless. A bowling alley that once hosted a presidential campaign visit has become the new home for the city's homeless after their shelter was burned by an arsonist. The 40-lane Royal Z Varsity Lanes, which has been for sale since it closed in May, was donated rent and utility free to operators of The Other Place, the city's only daytime homeless shelter. It was just like an answer to a prayer, said Julie Mielke, executive director of the shelter. Doris E. Adams, 46, of Dayton, was among a handful of people who walked into the bowling alley shortly after it opened Tuesday. She said she likes the new shelter. "It's nice and warm so far because it's cold out there," said Ms. Adams. "I think it's pretty good. I used to go bowling and liked it pretty good. It might bring back some memories and make somebody get some stimulation and want to go work in what used to be a bowling alley." The facility was donated by Zavakos Enterprises, which owns 8 bowling alleys in Ohio and 2 in South Carolina. Ted Zavakos, vice president, said he had just launched a special bowling tournament to raise funds for the shelter when it was damaged in the fire. That's when he decided Varsity Lanes was the answer. "It was a godsend we were able to do something like this," said Zavakos. "It's a perfect place. It's a big, big building." He said the homeless can stay at the bowling alley until the old shelter is made habitable or a new shelter can be found. If the building is sold, he said, shelter operators will be given ample time to move. Ms. Mielke said the bowling alley has a kitchen and small rooms for classes and counseling. The shelter, previously housed in a church basement, had provided food to about 100 homeless people a day. Classes such as drug recovery, Bible study, and assertiveness training also were offered. On Thanksgiving, someone broke into the shelter and stole a VCR and microwave oven before setting 3 couches on fire. The blaze burned files and caused smoke damage. "When I came in, I was devastated. I just couldn't believe it," Miss Mielke recalled. "At that point, all I could think of was that we've needed a bigger place to be, and now we've got no place." She said operators had hoped to reopen the shelter within a few days, but they later realized it was going to be a long process that involved cleaning out ventilation ducts and some electrical work, she said. Ms. Mielke said she doesn't know how long the shelter will remain at the bowling alley and whether operators will move back to their previous quarters or try to find a larger place. The bowling alley was the site of a campaign stop in October 1988 by Democratic presidential nominee Michael Dukakis.
From the Connecticut Post in the year 1998. Clarence Lavers, 63, professional bowler, passes. A fun-loving bowler who won scores of duckpin tournaments has passed away. Clarence Swede Lavers, who had a reputation as the life of the party on the professional bowling tour, died Tuesday after a 6-year battle with intestinal cancer. He was 63. He was a fun-loving guy who had friends and fans in the South, Rhode Island, and wherever he went. "He made friends easily," said Dick Andrea, who works the counter at Barnum Recreation Duckpin Bowling Lanes, where Lavers often bowled. "He was one of the greatest guys you could ever meet. He was the life of the party and one great athlete." Lavers was born in Dover, New Hampshire, but lived in Stratford most of his life. He became the general manager of the 24-lane bowling alley on Barnum Avenue in 1984. He took that job after leaving Ray Besto's, where he had worked testing car brakes since 1955. Over 40 years, Lavers became a major figure in professional duckpin bowling. He won 12 pro tournaments and about 80 other major competitions. In 1983, he was captain of the U.S. team that won the World Cup during an international duckpin competition in Toronto. He won the singles and all events titles in that event. Despite suffering from cancer, Lavers won yet another duckpin tournament on the professional tour in 1996. Over the years, he ranked number 1 in the sport nationally 4 times, in New England 20 times, and in the state 19 times. He was again Connecticut's number 1 duckpin bowler in the 1997-98 season, his friends said. Lavers kept bowling until recently, when cancer made him too weak to continue. Tom Lynch, who works part-time at the Barnum Alleys, recalled bowling with Lavers in partner events they won through the years. Lynch said he developed a back problem about 10 years ago that unfortunately put an end to that partnership. He was a truly unique man, the best man I have ever known. He was always positive. If he put his mind to something, he did it perfectly, Lynch said. He was impervious to pressure. He had a huge sense of humor. Lynch had been working at a bowling center in West Haven in 1986, when Lavers brought him to Stratford to work at the Barnum Lanes. Nothing ever bothered Lavers in any kind of competition.
He would be joking and making bets on himself with difficult shots to make and a championship on the line. Lynch recalled, "If you ever saw him, you would never forget him. He was a big man, 6 foot 3 inches tall, and about 250 pounds with a big, goofy smile. Though he was intent on winning, Lavers was nonetheless a generous athlete who regularly helped about 20 bowlers at the Barnum Lanes keep at the top of their game." Lynch said. Bruce Sylvester of Hamden said he and his wife, Judy, who are top duckpin bowlers in the state, became close friends of Lavers and benefited from his coaching. "He always gave me pointers along with anyone else who asked him for help," Sylvester said. "My wife, Judy, who also bowls in the Pro Tour, benefited from his advice." Lynch said Lavers had nearly perfect eye-hand coordination, which enabled him to be outstanding in bowling as well as other games, such as horseshoes. In 1959, Lavers won the Fairfield County and the State Open Horseshoe Singles competitions. Lavers' wife, Gilda Jill Medeiros Lavers, never bowled, but she frequently traveled with him to tournaments across the nation, Lynch said. Besides his wife, Lavers is survived by 2 daughters, Lori Antezzo of Ansonia and Tara Petrino of Shelton, and 2 brothers, the Reverend Albert Coffey of Blue Hills, Maine, and Robert Coffey of Shingle House, Pennsylvania. A memorial service will be held today at 10:30 a.m. at Stratford Baptist Church on Huntington Road. Boonel will be private.
From the year 1988 in the Sacramento Union, Ferraro Downs Walter Ray, Holman bags, cool 80 grand. Dave Ferraro of Kingston, New York took advantage of 2 missed spares by Stockton's Walter Ray Williams to capture the Professional Bowlers Association $135,000 Budweiser Touring Players Championship in Taylor, Michigan, 212 to 195. Williams outstruck Ferraro 7-5, but missed 10-pin spares in the 2nd and 6th frames. In other action, Marshall Holman rolled a strike in the sudden death 17th frame to capture the lion's share of prizes in the $100,000 bowling shootout at Brunswick Lanes in Muskegon, Michigan. Holman, 34, the Professional Bowlers Association Player of the Year in 1987, won $80,000 in cash. From the year 1985 in the Journal-Tribune, automatic setter changed sport of candlepin bowling. New England bowlers fire the ball down the lanes at candlepins because of the belief of a Worcester, Massachusetts billiard showman that bowling should not be all big pins and big balls. John J. Munsey, a member of the Proprietors Bowling Association, became involved in a power struggle for control of the organization. He returned to Worcester in the spring of 1890, and together with Justin P. White, owner of a bowling and billiard room, and John Schaaf, the trio developed a new game based on modifications to the Old English game of skittles, then played in parts of New England and the maritime provinces of Canada. The slim pins, set in a triangle 60 feet down the lane, appeared as candles on a cake, and so they were named candlepins. The same lane as used for 10 pins was utilized for the new game because the pins were set on the same spots as the big ball game, 12 inches between each pin, and because of the smallness of the ball, Munsey and White decided they would introduce a new facet to the game. They decided to make all fallen pins, or deadwood, playable as long as the pins were within the confines of the playing area. The 3 men developed the game to serve bowlers, neither temperamentally suited nor physically capable of coping with the bigger balls of 10 pins. The first candlepin bowling balls were made of wood, were 3 inches in diameter, and weighed about 2 pounds. The game spread quickly throughout New England and the Maritimes, and soon it replaced all of the skittle alleys. But candlepin bowling did not catch on as we know it today until a Massachusetts inventor and businessman, Joe Janes, developed the automatic pin setter. Janes, who made his living building local storefronts, made for his personal use a miniature bowling alley 6 feet long with the pins set up by strings. Then he came up with the idea of making bigger ones for use in amusement arcades. By 1940, Janes had 40 of these miniature bowling alleys in operation in New England. During World War II, Janes increased the size of the candlepin machine to 18 feet and put one in his home for his own use. One afternoon, a friend Earl Bolton, came to his home and bowled with him. Bolton owned and operated the Turnpike bowling alleys on the Concord Pike. He asked Janes to rig up a couple of automatic pin-setting machines for his bowling alleys. The original pin-setting machines controlled the pins by nylon strings. The pin-setting machine revolutionized bowling. It eliminated pin boys and dressed up the rear end of the bowling alleys, always an eyesore in the past. Instead of the backboard being littered with the pin boys' shirts, caps, empty tonic bottles, etc., that was replaced with the plywood screen that hides the pin setter. Before long, every candlepin lane in New England had installed the automatic pin setter, and the game of candlepin bowling had changed forever. From the Daily Oklahoman in the year 1994, Duggan, Duke stay on profitable roll. Bowling for dollars is Anne-Marie Duggan's and Norm Duke's specialty, and the two professional bowlers who call Edmonds Boulevard Bowl home were quite good at it this season. Duggan topped the Ladies Pro Bowlers Tour 1994 earnings list with $120,572. That amount is $14,447 more than runner-up Alita Sills' total, and the most ever earned by a tour member in one season. Duke led the Pro Bowlers Association Tour with $267,553 in 1994. That is $81,108 more than runner-up Walter Ray Williams Jr., and ranks as the tour's second biggest season payoff. And those two will have a chance to up their income even more at this week's $200,000 merit doubles in Reno, Nevada. The top 24 bowlers in both the PBA and LPBT will compete in the event, which runs Tuesday through Sunday and pays $40,000 to the winning team. Duggan, who finished first in the LPBT merit point standings, will be paired with PBA point leader Williams. Duke, who competed in 7 fewer events than Williams and finished 8th in points, will team up with Carol Giannotti. "I would not mind bowling with Norm," said Duggan, who also led the LPBT with a 213.47 average over 762 games and 3 titles. "But I am happy to be bowling with Walter Ray. The tournament is a lot of fun, but everyone takes it real serious because first place pays $20,000 each." And Duggan would like to keep her streak going as the only LPBT Tour member to cash in every tournament this season. The 32-year-old won the Texas Border Shootout, Santa Maria Classic, and WIBC Queens, and made the finals at 11 other events. "I have been working hard the last 5 years, and I feel it's beginning to pay off," she said. This season was not all fun for Duke, however, as he missed 3 months of the PBA Tour due to foot surgery. But the 30-year-old came back in the fall and won the Japan Cup and Rochester Classic to bring his season title count to 5. Duke, who led the PBA Tour with a 222.77 average over 776 games, also won the Delco Classic, Johnny Petraglia Open, and Choice Hotels Classic at Boulevard Bowl. From the news from the year 1963, Brown named Duckpin Pro. Herman Brown, one of Frederick, Maryland's outstanding duckpin bowlers, has been selected to be one of the 64 charter members of the BPA Pro Bowlers Association. As a chosen member for this select group, Brown will have an opportunity to qualify for the first professional duckpin bowlers tour, slated for December 13 through 15 at Penn Daw Lanes in Alexandria, Virginia. To qualify, a bowler must have had an average of 120 or more. The top 30 finishers in this event will have first crack at entering the second event, which is scheduled for Atlanta, Georgia. Cash awards of $2,500 will be awarded in each match in the 10-stop tour. All events will be televised, so duckpin enthusiasts in the local area will have an opportunity to watch the best in the sport in action. Brown has participated in most of the big tournaments and qualified for the top event, the BPA All-Star Tournament in 1960 and 1962. He has long been an avid booster of the duckpin game and is currently president of the Blue Ridge Major League Circuit and vice president of the Wednesday Night Major League at Village Lanes. From the Post-Star in the year 1974, Bowling Tips, Making Spot Bowling Work to Perfection. The following pointer is one of the simplest bowling hints on the surface, yet many bowlers neglect to execute it from start to finish. If you're using the spot system, then really use it. Some bowlers have a target spot in mind and watch it as they start their approach, but then fail to see if the ball actually goes over the spot. The whole theory of spot bowling goes out the window if you do not follow your ball's motion over your target. From the year 2005 in the Spokesman Review, Bowlers Next for Ban. Legislators want to extinguish smoking in Idaho's bowling alleys. Eddie Chappell did not give much thought to the cigarette smoke when he took his first job in the bowling business. A college kid in Provo, Utah. He worked as pin chaser. He loved the game. He loved the people. He found his path, and it brought him to Twin Falls. He ran the Bowlodrome for 40 years, working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. He said, I was sort of unaware to what was happening to me, the 67-year-old said recently. Then I was diagnosed with bladder cancer 3 to 4 years ago. A doctor in Twin Falls assured me that if I had not been in secondhand smoke all my life, that would not have happened. When he heard 2 state lawmakers are now proposing to ban smoking in bowling alleys, he said that's a good idea. Smokers have a right to smoke, but not to inflict it on other people, he said. Senator Brent Hill and Representative Bob Ring are planning to introduce a bill that would ban smoking in bowling alleys, extending a statewide prohibition on puffing in public places, which Hill won in 2004. In that legislation, Hill opted to leave bowling alleys out, wagering it would be easier to fend off opposition if his bill was crafted more narrowly to apply to businesses such as restaurants. With the law more than a year old, Hill and Ring now aim to oust smokers from one of their final refuges. Bowling alleys are among the few spots in Idaho that have not been required to designate special areas for people to light up. Hill is not counting on a fight. For his 2004 bill, members of the State House and Senate voted nearly 2-1 in favor of the ban. Bars would still be exempt from the smoking ban under the latest proposal. At Bowlodrome, smoking is allowed except during high school bowling and junior leagues, said Dennis Seckel, who bought the bowling alley from Chappell in August. He has already watched tournament organizers wrestle with the issue and stepped in at one senior tournament, banning smoking because of an uproar by bowlers who thought it was supposed to be a non-smoking event. I get it from both ends, he said. Smokers want to have a place to go. Others tell him a ban will bring in more business. I personally do not care one way or the other, said Seckel, who smokes only an occasional cigar. I don't know how that will affect the business. Joe McClure, who with his wife Kathy owns Magic Bowl in Twin Falls, said a smoking ban might be good for the industry. We feel like there are a lot of people quitting bowling because of the smoke, he said. Proprietors want to avoid smoking-related lawsuits and need to run businesses that are safe and attractive for young bowlers. An important customer base, he said. Magic Bowl prohibits smoking during youth events. And on Sundays without tournaments, it hosts smoke-free open bowling. Some bowling alleys have voluntarily chosen to ban smoking. Sunset Bowling Center in Coeur d'Alene went smoke-free on July 1, 2003 to attract more families. Bolero lanes in Idaho Falls and Teton lanes in Rexburg also are smoke-free. In some cases, the no-smoking policy has actually helped business. Families can bring their kids in and they don't go home smelling like smoke, said Sharon Howe, manager of Bolero Lanes. It's been great for us. Other alleys, such as Skyline Lanes in Idaho Falls and Blackfoot's, 2 bowling alleys, Starlight Lanes and Pindale Lanes, allow smoking. Kevin McPhee, one of Pindale Lane's owners, figures patrons would put up with a ban if it's enacted, much the same as Idaho residents have adjusted to the restaurant smoking ban. It would be positive and negative, said McPhee. We would probably lose some and pick up others. From the year 1984 in the Daily Item, Ronald F. Crowley, 54, outstanding Lynn bowler, passes. Ronald F. Crowley, a member of the Candlepin Bowling Hall of Fame and owner of Linway Bowling Lanes, died suddenly Monday in Lynn Hospital after being stricken at home. He was the husband of Mrs. Janet M. Rowan Crowley, the son of the late Catherine Crowley. He was a lifelong Lynn resident. Mr. Crowley served in the Army during the Korean conflict. At 16, he won the Item Open Candlepin contest, and in 1948 teamed up with Joe Colina, forming the Whiz Kids. The pair defeated many of the top candlepin teams in New England in the following years. He acquired the nickname Apple Cheeks at the time. In 1981, he and Colina were inducted into the Candlepin Bowling Hall of Fame in Worcester. Mr. Crowley had been the owner of Linway Recreation Center since 1971. He was a communicant of St. Joseph's Church secretary of the Massachusetts Bowling Association, and a member of Valladolid Council, 70 Knights of Columbus. Division 10 of the Hibernians, Ambets Post 161, the Franco-American Ambets Post in Lynn, the Lynn Kiwanis Club, and the Bowling Proprietors Association of America. He also leaves 2 daughters, Kathleen Crowley of Lynn and Mary Crowley of Natick. 4 sons, Daniel Crowley, Michael Crowley, and Sean Crowley, all of Lynn and Paul Crowley of Maiden, a grandson, and several nieces and nephews.
Well, I think we'll wrap it up for today. Thanks again for stopping by and tuning in to our revised format of the This Day in Bowling History podcast. As usual, if you'd like to be notified of future videos when they become available and are published, feel free to hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of the videos or the YouTube screen. Have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on the upcoming Monday, and hopefully we'll have a few more enhancements to the podcast. So take care.
Down at the lanes, it's Friday night. Grab your friends, let's get this right. Bowling shoes on, we're ready to roll, with a strike in our sights and a heart full of soul. But hold your horses, what's this? Oh no, we're talking about the lingo, let the fun flow. In the world of bowling, there's a tale to be told of a tricky little setup that never gets old. It's a trilby, oh what a sight. After 2 holes, the pins take flight with the 2 and the 8 and the 3 and the 9. We dance with the pins, but baby it ain't fine. 2 big holes where the trouble lies. Can you dodge the gaps or will you hear the cries? It's a trilby, don't lose your head. Make that 3rd roll or you wish you were dead. Alright, gather round, hear the sounds of the lane. With the clatter of the pins, we're playing the game. Feeling fresh, but the pressure is real. With that dreaded leave, oh how do you feel? You've chopped and you dropped, left the gap so wide. The crowd holds its breath, adrenaline's your guide. Peering down the alley, got your sights set right, but the nerves start to bubble, will you shine and take flight? It's a trilby, oh what a sight. After 2 holes, the pins take flight with the 2 and the 8 and the 3 and the 9. We dance with the pins, but baby it ain't fine. 2 big holes where the trouble lies. Can you dodge the gaps or will you hear the cries? It's a trilby, don't lose your head. Make that 3rd roll or you wish you were dead. Bowler to the left, bowler to the right, sharing in the laughter, the spirit feels bright. Each pin a challenge, each frame a new test. In this game of skill, we give it our best. But when the trilby's lurking, it's panic and fear. Can you calm the storm? The finish line is near. Take a deep breath, let the tension unwind. Focus on the head, but leave the worries behind. So join us in the lanes, where the stories unfold of strikes and of spares, and the brave and the bold.